Discipline is doing what needs to be done every day until results have no choice but to show up. If you want your goals to stop being wishes and start being facts, you must build the kind of discipline that makes success automatic. Most people rely on motivation, but motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. It makes you work when you're tired, stay consistent when life is distracting, and push forward when no one is checking on you. The truth is, results are not random. They are the outcome of what you repeatedly do. If your habits are weak, your results will be weak. But if your discipline is strong, results become inevitable. In this session, I'll share practical steps and proven strategies to help you build discipline that lasts. So progress is not something you hope for, it's something you expect. Stay with me, because this is how you take full control of your actions, your growth, and your future. Chapter 1. Stop letting feelings decide when you take action. Discipline starts when you make decisions based on what is right, not what you feel in the moment. Most people are prisoners to their feelings. If they feel motivated, they work. If they feel tired, they stop. If they feel inspired, they start a project. If the inspiration fades, the project is left unfinished. That pattern never produces consistent results. You must learn to act regardless of your mood, because discipline is built on choice, not emotion. Your feelings are unpredictable. They change based on sleep, weather, people around you, and even small inconveniences. If your entire day depends on feeling ready or energized, you will lose more days than you win. Real success comes from training yourself to move forward whether you feel like it or not. When you decide to work on the days you feel tired, you build strength. When you keep going in moments of boredom, you train your mind to push past resistance. That's where long-term results are born. Think about how many opportunities you've lost because you waited to feel motivated. That workout you skipped, that business idea you didn't work on, that book you didn't finish. Every one of those moments is a decision point. You either take action or you let feelings control you. Each time you act despite your mood, you take power away from hesitation. Each time you wait for the perfect feeling, you strengthen procrastination. Discipline is choosing the action that moves you forward, even when the easy choice is to stop. If you only move when the mood is perfect, you will never see consistent progress. Think of your goals as commitments you've made to yourself. If you promised someone else you would meet them at a certain time, you would show up no matter what. You would not cancel because you felt tired or uninspired. Treat your commitments to yourself with the same seriousness. If you say you'll wake up at 6 a.m. to work, then wake up at 6 a.m. to work. The discipline you build from keeping your own word will carry into everything else. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy, your eyes are half closed, and the bed feels too comfortable. Your mind will start negotiating, telling you to take a break, reminding you that one day off won't matter. That is the moment you decide what type of person you are. If you give in, you're telling yourself that comfort is more important than growth. If you get up and do the work anyway, you're telling yourself that results matter more than mood. That decision, repeated daily, shapes your identity. Humans naturally seek comfort. Our brains are wired to avoid discomfort and conserve energy. But growth requires discomfort. Every time you ignore that feeling of resistance and take action anyway, you are rewiring your brain to see discomfort as a normal part of life. This is not about forcing yourself into pain for no reason. It's about building the ability to move forward when it matters most. That skill makes you reliable, strong, and capable of achieving results that others only dream about. The people who succeed are not always the most talented, the most intelligent, or the most gifted. They are the ones who consistently show up and do the work regardless of feelings. They understand that emotions are temporary, but results are permanent. You can feel tired and still finish a workout. You can feel unmotivated and still complete your tasks. You can feel stressed and still follow through on your commitments. The action itself is what matters. Feelings will change after you start, but if you wait for them to change first, you will wait forever. One of the best ways to stop letting feelings control your actions is to set clear rules for yourself. Rules take away negotiation. If you decide you will exercise at a certain time every day, that decision is already made. You do not wake up and ask yourself, "Do I feel like working out today?" You simply follow the rule. This removes the emotional back and forth that keeps most people stuck. Successful people reduce decisions by creating systems. Systems make action automatic. The less you rely on feelings, the more consistent you become. Another important step is to focus on starting, not finishing. Often the hardest part is getting started. When you feel resistance, commit to doing the first step. If you're writing, tell yourself to write for 10 minutes. If you're working out, start with a warm-up. Once you begin, momentum will carry you forward. You'll notice that your feelings often improve after you start. The action changes the feeling, not the other way around. It's also critical to recognize that your mind will create convincing stories to stop you. It will tell you that you're too tired, too busy, or that you've done enough already. These are excuses disguised as logic. Train yourself to recognize them for what they are. Ask yourself, will avoiding this action bring me closer to my goals? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. This kind of self-awareness is part of discipline. It keeps you honest when your feelings are trying to lead you astray. You must also understand that waiting for the right time is another way feelings control your life. There is no perfect moment. Life will always present challenges, interruptions, and reasons to delay. If you want results, you act in the middle of those challenges. You don't wait for them to disappear. The truth is, the right time is the moment you decide to move forward. Some people think discipline means living without enjoyment, but that is not true. Discipline is what creates the space for real enjoyment. When you handle your responsibilities first, you experience leisure without guilt. When you earn your rewards through consistent effort, they feel meaningful. Without discipline, free time feels like avoidance. With discipline, free time feels like freedom. If you want to stop letting feelings decide your actions, you must build a track record of following through. Every completed task is proof to yourself that you can rely on you. Over time, this creates self-respect, and when you respect yourself, you set higher standards. You stop tolerating the laziness and inconsistency that used to hold you back. You begin to expect more from yourself, and that expectation fuels even greater discipline. You can train this skill in everyday situations. If you plan to clean the kitchen tonight, do it, even if you feel tired. If you plan to read for 30 minutes, read, even if you'd rather scroll on your phone. If you plan to make that phone call, make it, even if you feel nervous. These small acts build the muscle of discipline. They are the quiet victories that lead to big achievements. It's also helpful to remember that feelings are not facts. You can feel like you're too tired and still have enough energy to complete your work. You can feel like something will take too long and still finish it in less time than you think. Your mind is not always accurate when it predicts what you can or cannot do. The only way to know is to start and see for yourself. Over time, you will notice a shift. The moments where you used to hesitate will become moments where you automatically take action. The mental fight will be shorter and your focus will be sharper. This is the reward of not letting feelings control your actions. You become a person who is consistent, reliable, and unstoppable. Your results are no longer left to chance because they are built on discipline, not mood. This transformation does not happen overnight. It comes from repeating the decision to act day after day, regardless of how you feel. Some days will be easier than others, but every day is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can lead, not follow, your emotions. Each action you take despite resistance is a victory that strengthens your character. In the end, success is not about feeling motivated every morning. It's about building the strength to do what needs to be done, no matter what you feel in the moment. When you master that, results stop being a possibility and start becoming a certainty. That is the power of being so disciplined that results become inevitable. And it begins the moment you stop letting feelings decide when you take action. Chapter 2. Train yourself to finish work before seeking any reward. Most people want the reward before they put in the full work. They look for shortcuts, they celebrate too early, or they convince themselves that a little effort is enough. This is why so many never reach the level of results they dream about. If you want to be disciplined to the point where success is guaranteed, you must flip that thinking completely. You must train yourself to earn the reward only after the work is completely done, not halfway done, not almost done, but finished in full. When you seek reward before the work is complete, you weaken your own standard. You send yourself a message that effort without completion is acceptable. Over time, that mindset creates a habit of quitting early, of stopping when you've done just enough to feel satisfied. But the reality is, half-finished work produces zero real results. A project 80% done still isn't complete. A promise half kept still isn't honored. The discipline comes in pushing yourself to finish, even when you feel tempted to stop. Finishing before rewarding yourself is not just about productivity, it's about building trust in yourself. Every time you finish what you start, you reinforce the idea that you can be relied on. You create a track record in your own mind that says, when I start something, I complete it. This kind of self-trust becomes the backbone of every big goal you will achieve. Without it, you will always doubt your ability to follow through, and that doubt will slow your progress. One of the strongest ways to train this discipline is to remove any instant gratification until the work is done. If you say you're going to work for 2 hours, don't touch your phone or take a break until those 2 hours are over. If you say you'll complete a task today, don't relax into entertainment until it's finished. This teaches your brain to associate the reward with completion, not with starting or putting in some effort. It changes the sequence: work first, reward after. This approach is powerful because it reprograms how you respond to discomfort. Most people stop when the work starts to feel hard or tedious. But when your personal rule is to finish before rewarding yourself, you push through that discomfort. You learn to focus on the end result rather than the momentary ease of quitting. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to cross the finish line without hesitation. There's another important benefit. You eliminate the habit of dragging out tasks. When you know you can only enjoy your reward after completion, you naturally work with more focus. You avoid wasting time because the sooner you finish, the sooner you can enjoy the reward. This turns procrastination into progress. Instead of splitting your attention and dragging tasks across multiple days, you handle them with urgency and purpose. You can start small. Pick something simple you need to do today. Maybe it's cleaning a part of your home, writing a short report, or finishing an errand. Promise yourself you won't have your coffee break, watch a show, or scroll online until it's complete. Hold yourself to that agreement, no matter how tempting it is to give in early. This small win builds the foundation for bigger challenges. Over time, increase the difficulty of what you delay reward for. Apply it to long work sessions, important deadlines, or personal commitments. The more you make this a part of your daily life, the more natural it becomes to finish before celebrating. Eventually, this isn't something you force yourself to do, it's simply who you are. It's worth noticing that rewarding yourself too early often kills momentum. If you start something, make a little progress, and then take a break to treat yourself, it becomes harder to start again. The energy you had fades, the focus is lost, and your brain feels as if it's already accomplished enough. That false sense of completion is dangerous. It robs you of the drive to actually finish. Finishing before seeking a reward also sharpens your mental resilience. You will face moments when the work feels endless. Your mind will start coming up with reasons to stop, telling you that you've done enough. But if you push through and complete the task, you not only get the actual result, you strengthen the mental muscle that allows you to endure when things get difficult. This resilience will serve you in every area of life, from business to relationships to personal health. A big part of this discipline is being clear about what finished really means. For some people, finished means doing just the visible part of the job. But real completion includes the details, the follow-up, and the last step that ties it all together. Don't settle for partial outcomes. If your goal was to send the final report, it's not done until it's sent. If your goal was to train for an hour, it's not done until the hour is complete. Set clear definitions for each task so there's no room to negotiate with yourself. This principle also protects you from the trap of false progress. Many people start a dozen things and never complete any of them, then wonder why they're not moving forward. When you commit to finishing before rewarding yourself, you cut through the noise. You stop chasing the thrill of starting and instead focus on the satisfaction of completion. This shift in focus changes your results dramatically because the world rewards finished work, not half-formed efforts. One effective way to build this habit is to visualize the end before you start. Ask yourself, what does complete look like for this task? Once you see it clearly, commit to not stopping until you reach that exact point. This clarity reduces the temptation to settle early because you have a precise standard to meet. You also have to be honest about the kind of rewards you give yourself. If the reward is so accessible that you can get it any time, it loses its value. Make your rewards meaningful. When you finish an important milestone, give yourself something that feels earned. A special meal, a break to enjoy a hobby, or time with people you care about. This creates a strong mental connection between hard work and meaningful payoff. Another advantage of this mindset is how it separates you from the majority. Most people operate on impulse. If they want to check social media, they check it. If they want to watch a video, they watch it. By holding yourself to the rule of finishing before reward, you train patience and control, two qualities that are rare but incredibly valuable. People notice those who consistently follow through. Opportunities tend to find the disciplined because they are reliable. When you first start applying this principle, it might feel restrictive. You'll catch yourself wanting to break the rule, telling yourself, just this once. But those just this once moments are what destroy consistency. Every time you override the urge and stick to the rule, you prove to yourself that you're in control. That kind of proof builds a deeper kind of confidence. Confidence rooted in discipline, not in mood or luck. This practice also teaches you to value delayed gratification, which is one of the most important predictors of long-term success. The ability to wait until the work is done before enjoying the payoff builds patience, foresight, and strategic thinking. It keeps you from chasing short bursts of pleasure at the cost of lasting achievement. You'll find that once you embrace this discipline, the rewards feel different. They carry a deeper sense of satisfaction because you know you've truly earned them. You're not enjoying them as a distraction or an escape. You're enjoying them as a result of real effort. That difference changes the way you view both work and leisure. The real transformation happens when finishing before reward becomes a habit that applies to everything. You don't just finish your job before relaxing. You finish conversations. You finish commitments. You finish what you say you will do. People start to see you as dependable, and you start to see yourself as someone who follows through no matter what. This identity is priceless because it becomes the foundation for every bigger goal you set in the future. In a world where quitting early is common, the simple act of finishing before rewarding yourself makes you stand out. It shapes your character, sharpens your discipline, and guarantees that your results will not be left to chance. Over time, this becomes second nature. You no longer have to think about whether you should push to the end. You just do it. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle often comes down to this one principle: finish the work before you take the reward. It sounds simple, but the discipline it builds is profound. And once you live this way, you will never go back, because the results speak for themselves.
Chapter 3. Build tolerance for doing boring tasks without losing focus. Most people love the exciting parts of progress, but quickly lose interest when faced with repetitive, slow, or routine work. That's why so many projects are started with energy and abandoned halfway through. The truth is, a large part of success comes from doing the same small tasks over and over again until they're mastered. These tasks may not feel thrilling, but they are the foundation of long-term achievement. If you can build tolerance for boring work while keeping your focus sharp, you gain an advantage that most people will never develop. Boring tasks are not the enemy. They are the reality of building anything worthwhile. The athlete repeats the same drills daily. The business owner goes through the same reports each week. The writer edits drafts line by line. The student reviews notes again and again. None of these actions feel exciting in the moment, but they are essential. If you avoid them, you avoid progress. What separates those who succeed from those who stop halfway is the ability to stay engaged even when the work feels dull. The challenge is not the task itself, but your reaction to it. Boredom is your mind's way of seeking novelty, but novelty is not what produces mastery. Mastery comes from repetition, and repetition often feels uninteresting. You must train yourself to see the value in the process, not just the feeling it gives you. This requires a deliberate choice to focus on the purpose of the task rather than its emotional appeal. One powerful shift is to stop labeling tasks as boring. When you call something boring, you give your brain permission to disengage. Instead, see it as necessary, useful, or strategic. For example, entering data may not thrill you, but it might be the step that helps your business run smoothly. Practicing a skill for the 100th time might feel repetitive, but it builds the muscle memory you need to perform without thinking. When you connect the task to its purpose, your focus naturally improves. Another key is to break the work into clear, measurable segments. If you face a 3-hour stretch of repetitive work, your mind will drift. But if you commit to focused bursts, say 20 or 30 minutes, you give yourself a clear target. The brain finds it easier to commit to smaller intervals of focus, and once you hit the end of that period, you can decide take a short break or keep going. This keeps your attention from slipping and makes it easier to handle the lack of stimulation. You also need to train your ability to resist distractions during these tasks. Boring work makes you more vulnerable to anything that feels more interesting. Your phone, social media, random conversations. Every time you give in, you teach yourself that the way out of discomfort is to escape. That habit weakens your discipline. Instead, make a personal rule to finish the time block you set without checking anything unrelated. By holding this boundary, You train your brain to stay put even when the urge to wander is strong. One of the most effective ways to stay engaged is to track progress as you go. Humans are motivated by visible results. If the work you're doing doesn't provide instant feedback, create your own. Check off each task, record your output, or measure improvement in a visible way. This gives you small bursts of satisfaction that help you stay committed, even when the process itself feels flat. Another skill to develop is adjusting your mindset about comfort. Many people think focus means feeling locked in with full excitement, but true focus is simply keeping your attention where it needs to be, regardless of how you feel about it. If you only focus when the work feels stimulating, you are building a habit of inconsistency. But if you can maintain focus in the absence of stimulation, you become unshakable in your ability to get things done. You can also use mental engagement strategies. While doing repetitive tasks, challenge yourself to do them faster or more accurately. Look for small ways to improve efficiency. Ask yourself how you can streamline the process without losing quality. By introducing micro-challenges, you create a sense of progress within the routine, which keeps your mind active without changing the work itself. This discipline matters because boring work compounds over time. The person who consistently completes small, repetitive tasks builds a strong base for bigger results. Think of someone learning a new language. The daily vocabulary drills may feel dull, but after months of repetition, they can speak fluently. Without the tolerance for those drills, the skill never develops. The same principle applies to every area: fitness, business, education, personal growth. The breakthrough comes from consistent action, not occasional bursts of excitement. It's also worth addressing why so many avoid this kind of work. They confuse boredom with waste of time. Just because a task doesn't feel exciting doesn't mean it lacks value. The most meaningful progress often happens during the quiet, unseen hours. No one applauds you for doing the basic work, but that work is what allows you to show up prepared, skilled, and ready when opportunities arise. To build tolerance, you must gradually increase your exposure to these types of tasks. Start by identifying the ones you tend to avoid. Then, instead of rushing through them with frustration, slow down and focus on doing them well. This is how you train patience and precision. Over time, you'll find that your ability to stay present in the work grows, and the urge to escape decreases. Another important habit is to separate your evaluation of the work from your feelings in the moment. You might feel bored, but boredom is temporary. The benefits of completing the task last far longer than the discomfort of staying with it. Remind yourself that feelings are short-term, but results are lasting. This perspective keeps you grounded when your mind starts seeking an easy exit. You can also change your environment to make focus easier. Reduce noise, set up a workspace that signals "this is where I get things done," and keep tools close at hand. While environment won't remove boredom entirely, it can reduce the number of small frictions that make it harder to stay engaged. Staying focused on boring tasks is also about energy management. If you save them for the time of day when you're already drained, your patience will be thinner. Instead, schedule them at times when your mind is fresh, even if it's just the first hour of the day. This increases your capacity to handle them without frustration. A long-term benefit of mastering this skill is reliability. People will see you as someone who handles every part of the job, not just the exciting parts. You'll be trusted with more responsibility because you've proven you won't abandon the less glamorous work. This trust opens doors that are closed to those who only perform when the spotlight is on. You must also understand that focus is a skill built through you. The more you practice staying with a task, the more natural it becomes. If you give up every time something feels dull, you weaken that skill. But if you consistently push through, you strengthen your attention span, and that strength will transfer to every other part of your life. Ultimately, building tolerance for boring tasks without losing focus is about aligning your actions with your goals instead of your moods. It's about understanding that the real work of success often happens in quiet moments, far from excitement and applause. When you can show up fully in those moments, you create results that compound over years, not just days. Once you can do this, you stop relying on motivation to carry you. You no longer wait for work to be interesting before you do it. You simply do it because it needs to be done. And that mindset is rare, but it's the one that makes results inevitable. It's the mindset that turns daily repetition into mastery and turns ordinary effort into extraordinary outcome.
Chapter 4. Follow the schedule you set even on your worst days. The days that test you the most are the days that define you. It's easy to stick to a schedule when everything is going right. When you wake up feeling rested, when your mood is good, and when your energy is high. But the real measure of discipline is what you do when none of that is true. Following the schedule you set, even on your worst days, is not about comfort. It's about building a level of reliability in yourself that doesn't break under pressure. There will be mornings when you wake up late, your head feels heavy, and the last thing you want to do is work. There will be times when personal problems drain your energy or when unexpected setbacks shake your confidence. These moments make it tempting to tell yourself, "I'll just do it tomorrow." But the moment you start negotiating with your schedule based on how you feel, you weaken the habit you've worked hard to build. Every time you keep your commitment on a bad day, you strengthen it. Every time you skip it, you make it easier to skip again. Your schedule is not just a list of tasks, it's a promise to yourself. If you treat it as optional whenever life gets uncomfortable, it loses its power. But when you treat it like a non-negotiable agreement, it becomes a framework you can rely on, even when things around you are unstable. This is why people with strong discipline often seem unstoppable. They don't let the conditions decide their actions. They let the commitment decide. One of the most powerful reasons to follow your schedule on bad days is that it protects you from falling into inconsistency. Skipping one day might seem harmless, but it can quickly turn into skipping 2 or 3. Momentum works both ways. It can build your progress or destroy it. If you stick to your schedule no matter how you feel, you never have to start over because you never stop. This doesn't mean ignoring genuine emergencies or pushing yourself through serious illness. It means honoring your plan when the only thing stopping you is discomfort, low motivation, or a bad mood. Those feelings pass, but the choice you make in the middle of them leaves a lasting mark. If you work through them, you develop mental toughness. If you give in to them, you reinforce the habit of quitting when things are not ideal. The truth is, you will never have a perfect streak of good days. Waiting for the right time to follow your schedule means you'll never build consistency. Life will always present challenges, unexpected events, emotional ups and downs, physical fatigue. If you can work through those, you can work through anything. That's why the days you least want to show up are the days you most need to. A useful strategy is to create a minimum standard for bad days. This is the version of your schedule that you can still stick to, even if you're not at your best. If your regular workout is an hour, your minimum standard might be 20 minutes. If your work session is normally 3 hours, your minimum might be 1 focused hour. This keeps you from skipping entirely, which is the most important part. You can adjust the intensity, but you still keep the habit alive. It's also important to remember that bad days often shift once you start working. The resistance you feel before starting is usually stronger than the difficulty of the task itself. When you take the first step, opening the laptop, putting on your workout clothes, making the first phone call, you often find that the mental fog begins to lift. The act of starting can change the entire tone of your day. If you wait to feel ready before you begin, you might never begin at all. Another way to make this easier is to prepare in advance for the days you know will be hard. Set out what you need the night before. Write down exactly what you'll do and when. The less thinking you have to do in the moment,
the less likely you are to talk yourself out of it. Decision fatigue is real. Removing as many decisions as possible increases your chance of following through. On bad days, you must pay close attention to your self-talk. Your mind will try to convince you to take it easy, to push the work to tomorrow, to make an exception just this one. If you believe those thoughts, you will act on them. Instead, remind yourself why the schedule exists, to move you forward whether or not the day is perfect. Tell yourself that showing up today matters more than how you feel about it. You can also build resilience by remembering your long-term vision. Missing one scheduled action might not seem like much, but repeated over months, it can derail your goals. Every time you think about skipping, ask yourself, will this choice take me closer to my goal, or further away? That simple question cuts through the noise of excuses and brings you back to the bigger picture. Following your schedule on bad days also has a deep psychological benefit. It builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself under difficult conditions, you prove that you can rely on you. This self-respect makes you more confident, more disciplined, and more determined in every area of life. You stop doubting your ability to follow through because you've seen yourself do it when it was hardest. You must also learn to detach from the expectation that every day will be equally productive. Some days you'll produce great results. Other days you'll simply get the work done. Both are victories if you stayed on schedule. The habit of showing up is more valuable than the quality of a single day's work, because it's the habit that produces results over time. Bad days can even become your best training ground for discipline. They force you to rely on commitment instead of motivation. They teach you to operate without needing perfect energy or ideal conditions. They reveal your ability to act despite discomfort, which is the exact skill required for long-term success. If you can perform on a day when you feel drained, then performing on a good day will be effortless. It's also worth noting that the sense of accomplishment you feel after following your schedule on a bad day is often greater than on an easy day. You know you overcame resistance. You know you could have taken the easier path and didn't. That satisfaction stays with you, and it makes the next bad day easier to handle because you have proof that you can get through it. If you want to make this a permanent part of your life, treat your schedule as a non-negotiable part of your identity. It's not something you do only when convenient. It's who you are. When you identify as someone who honors their schedule regardless of circumstance, you stop relying on willpower alone. Your actions come from your identity, and identity is far more stable than fleeting motivation. You can strengthen this by tracking your streak of days you followed your schedule. Visual proof of your consistency reinforces the habit. It's harder to break a chain when you can see the progress you've made. Each day becomes part of a larger story of reliability and discipline. There will always be people who skip their plans whenever the day doesn't go as expected. Those are the ones who wonder why they can't seem to make lasting progress. Then there are the few who show up no matter what, who do the work when tired, who stick to the plan when distracted. Those are the ones who achieve results others think are impossible. The difference is not talent or luck, it's consistency. Following your schedule even on your worst days requires preparation, awareness, and the refusal to negotiate with yourself. It requires seeing the value of the habit beyond the comfort of the moment. It's a choice you make again and again, and each time you make it, you grow stronger. Over months and years, that strength compounds until your results are no longer a matter of chance. They are the direct outcome of your discipline. And once you reach that point, you no longer have to wonder if success will happen. You've built the habits that make it inevitable. Chapter 5. Choose progress over comfort. Every time you face a decision. Every day you are faced with choices that shape your life, and in almost every one of those moments, you have two paths. One path leads to comfort, the easier option, the familiar routine, the choice that requires the least effort. The other path leads to progress, the option that challenges you, pushes you forward, and forces you to grow. The direction your life takes depends on which of these you choose more often. Choosing progress over comfort is not always pleasant in the moment, but it is the habit that transforms your results over time. Comfort feels good immediately because it gives you relief. Progress rarely feels good at the start because it demands energy, attention, and effort. That is why so many people stay stuck. They reach for what feels good now instead of what will feel good later. But progress has one advantage: comfort can never match. It creates lasting change. Comfort ends the moment, the pleasure fades. Progress stays with you because it builds skill, discipline, and momentum. When you are faced with a decision, your mind will always present you with reasons to choose comfort. You will hear thoughts like, "You can do it tomorrow," "You've worked enough," or "You deserve a break." These thoughts are appealing because they give you permission to avoid difficulty. But every time you choose them, you miss an opportunity to move closer to your goals. And when those choices pile up over weeks, months, and years, they form a life of unrealized potential. Choosing progress requires you to think beyond the moment you are in. Instead of asking, "What do I feel like doing right now?" you ask, "What choice will move me forward?" That small shift changes everything. It forces you to evaluate decisions, not by how they feel in the moment, but by the results they will create in the future. This is where discipline takes over from impulse. You don't have to choose progress in every single decision to change your life, but you do need to choose it most of the time. The more often you take the harder path, the more you strengthen the mental muscle that makes it easier to choose it again. Over time, you stop seeing progress as something unpleasant and start seeing it as the obvious choice. You no longer fight with yourself about whether to do the work. You simply do it because you've built the identity of someone who values growth over ease. One way to practice this is to start catching yourself in the moment of decision. When you notice you're about to take the easy route, pause. Ask yourself, am I avoiding this because it's truly unnecessary or because it's uncomfortable? If it's the second, you know where the real growth is. That uncomfortable action is the one that will make you better, even if it's small. Another step is to make the path of progress clear and simple. If you want to work out instead of lying on the couch, have your clothes ready and your workout plan. If you want to read instead of scrolling on your phone, keep the book visible and your phone out of reach. The fewer steps between you and the action, the more likely you are to choose it. Progress is hard enough without adding unnecessary barriers. It's also helpful to remember that comfort is not always rest. Sometimes it's avoidance. There is a difference between taking a break to recover and taking a break to escape. When you choose avoidance, you're not protecting your energy, you're delaying your growth. That delay becomes a habit, and the longer you keep it, the harder it is to break. But when you choose progress, even in small ways, you create a pattern that reinforces itself. The most successful people you admire are not immune to the temptation of comfort. They feel the same resistance you do. The difference is that they've trained themselves to act in the direction of progress more often than not. They know that comfort in the moment often costs more than the effort it takes to push through. They understand that each decision is a vote for the type of person they are becoming. Choosing progress over comfort does not always mean making massive leaps. Sometimes it's as simple as finishing a task instead of leaving it for later, practicing a skill for a few more minutes instead of stopping, or having a difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Small choices compound. The more you make the choice for progress, the less tempting the comfortable option becomes. There will be times when progress feels exhausting, when you are tempted to believe that you've done enough. This is when you must remember that progress is not built in single, intense bursts. It is built in repeated, consistent choices. The choice you make on a day when you're tired is often more important than the choice you make when you're full of energy, because it proves that your commitment is real. The key is to stop giving comfort the power to control your direction. Comfort will always be available, but opportunities for progress often come and go. You might have a chance to practice, to learn, to take action right now, and if you pass on it, that moment is gone. You can never get it back. This awareness should make you value those moments and use them instead of wasting them. If you want to make choosing progress easier, surround yourself with reminders of why you started. Keep your goals visible. Review the reasons you want to change. When the comfortable option tempts you, look at those reminders and ask yourself if the short-term ease is worth delaying the life you want. Often seeing your vision in front of you is enough to pull you toward the harder but better choice. You must also accept that progress often feels uncomfortable in the moment, but rewarding afterward. Comfort is the opposite. It feels good now, but often leaves you feeling dissatisfied later. This contrast is something you can use to your advantage. Remind yourself of how you'll feel at the end of the day if you choose progress, and compare it to how you'll feel if you choose comfort. One leaves you stronger, the other leaves you stuck. A powerful mindset shift is to start associating progress with pride. Each time you take the harder road, recognize it as a personal win. Acknowledge it, even privately, as proof that you're building the qualities you need to succeed. Over time, this creates a positive association in your mind. Progress becomes linked to self-respect, and comfort becomes linked to regret. You can also limit the power of comfort by making it a reward instead of a default. If you enjoy rest, entertainment, or relaxation, schedule them after you've made progress. This way, comfort becomes something you've earned, not something that pulls you away from what matters. It flips the relationship. You're in control of when comfort appears, instead of letting it control you. Some people avoid progress because they believe they're not ready. They think they need more preparation, more confidence, or more information before they act. But often the only way to get ready is to start. Waiting until you feel ready is just another form of seeking comfort. Progress happens when you step forward before you feel completely certain, trusting that you will adapt as you go. Choosing progress also builds resilience for the future. The challenges you take on today prepare you for bigger challenges later. Every time you choose growth over ease, you make the next hard decision easier. You prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort, and that proof changes the way you see yourself. You stop doubting your ability to handle difficulty because you've faced it repeatedly and come out stronger. This way of living will not make life easier, but it will make you stronger, and that strength will allow you to handle more, achieve more, and recover faster from setbacks. You will become the kind of person who moves forward when others freeze, who acts when others hesitate, who keeps going when others stop. That kind of reliability is rare, and it's built by one choice at a time: progress over comfort. In the end, comfort is temporary, but progress is permanent. Every decision you make is a chance to prove which one matters more to you. If you choose comfort, you get the relief of the moment. If you choose progress, you get the reward of growth. The more times you choose growth, the more you create a life that reflects your potential, not your limitation. And that life is worth every moment of discomfort it took to build.
Chapter 6. Treat small promises to yourself like life-changing commitments. The way you handle the promises you make to yourself shapes the person you become. Most people are careful about keeping their word to others because they don't want to lose trust or damage a relationship, but they don't apply the same standard to themselves. They break their own commitments without hesitation, skipping the workout they planned, putting off the project they said they'd start, or ignoring the routine they promised to follow. The problem is that every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your own self-respect. You teach yourself that your word isn't worth much, and once you stop trusting yourself, it becomes harder to believe you can achieve anything significant. Treating small promises like they are life-changing commitments is not about being dramatic. It's about recognizing that each one is a building block for your identity. When you say you'll wake up at a certain time, do it. When you say you'll read for 20 minutes,
Read. When you say you'll save a set amount of money, save it. It doesn't matter how small the action is. What matters is that you follow through. These moments are not separate from your bigger goals. They are the training ground that prepares you to handle the bigger goal. Small promises are deceptively powerful because they happen every day. You might think skipping one won't matter, but habits are formed in the details. If you keep skipping the small things, you're building a habit of inconsistency. If you keep completing them, you're building a habit of reliability. Over time, these habits shape the way you act without you even thinking about it. The person who is disciplined in the smallest areas will naturally be disciplined in the bigger one. One reason people break small promises is because there's no immediate consequence. If you tell yourself you'll go for a short walk after dinner and you don't, nothing drastic happens in that moment. But the damage is internal. It's in the message you send to yourself. You're telling yourself that what you say doesn't carry weight. Do this enough, and when you set a bigger goal, part of you will already expect to fail because you've proven to yourself that you don't always follow through. The way to change this is to make your own promises as serious as the ones you make to others. If you told a friend you'd meet them at a certain time, you wouldn't cancel just because you were tired. You wouldn't delay because you didn't feel like going. You'd find a way to show up. Apply that same principle to the agreements you make with yourself. When you decide to do something, treat it like it's a binding contract, because in a way it is. The contract is between the person you are now and the person you want to become. This doesn't mean overloading yourself with commitments you can't realistically handle. In fact, it's better to start with fewer promises and focus on keeping them without fail. If you can't stick to big promises yet, make smaller ones. Instead of committing to an hour of reading every day, commit to 10 minutes. Instead of promising to work out 6 days a week, start with 3. What matters is that you meet the standard you set for yourself. Once you consistently keep those smaller promises, you can raise the standard. When you keep promises to yourself, you build an inner confidence that doesn't depend on outside validation. You know you can trust your own word, and that trust makes you more willing to take on challenges. You stop hesitating because you've proven through repeated action that you will follow through. That's when discipline stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like a natural part of who you are. The discipline of keeping small promises also affects how others see you. People can sense when someone has self-control and reliability. They notice when you consistently follow through, and they respect it. This can lead to more opportunities because people trust that you'll deliver. But even if no one else notices, the effect on your own self-image is worth it. You begin to see yourself as someone who does what they say, and that changes the way you carry yourself. To make this habit stick, remove the option to negotiate with yourself. Once you decide on a promise, it's not up for debate. If you said you'd work for 30 minutes tonight, don't spend time deciding whether you feel like it. Just start. The moment you start treating your promises as optional, they lose their meaning. The key is to make the decision once and act on it without reopening the conversation in your head. Another way to strengthen this habit is to track your promises and your follow-through. Write them down each day and check them off as you complete them. This gives you visible proof of your consistency and keeps you accountable. When you see a long chain of completed promises, you'll want to keep it going. Breaking one will feel like breaking the streak, and that extra pressure can keep you committed. You also have to be honest with yourself about why you break certain promises. Sometimes it's laziness, sometimes it's poor planning, and sometimes it's because the promise wasn't realistic to begin with. If you set a standard you can't meet, you're setting yourself up to fail. That's why starting with small, achievable promises is so important. It lets you experience the satisfaction of success and build from there. Over time, keeping small promises changes the way you approach bigger challenges. You stop doubting whether you can stick to something for weeks or months, because you've been training yourself daily. It becomes normal to commit and complete. And when setbacks happen, you recover faster because you have a track record of consistency to fall back on. This discipline also builds patience. Many people fail to achieve their goals because they want results too quickly. They make a huge promise to themselves, break it, and give up. But if you treat each small step like it matters, you start seeing progress as a series of wins instead of one huge leap. You learn to appreciate the process because you're constantly proving to yourself that you can follow through. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you keep promises to yourself. You stop looking for outside permission. You don't wait for someone else to tell you it's time to act. You decide, you commit, and you deliver. This independence is powerful because it means your growth no longer depends on anyone else's approval or encouragement. The danger of not building this habit is that you slowly train yourself to expect failure. If you constantly break your own word, you lower your own expectation. You stop aiming for more because you've convinced yourself you won't stick with it. That's how people end up in cycles of setting goals they never reach. They've lost trust in themselves. The only way to break that cycle is to rebuild that trust, one small promise at a time. It's important to remember that the size of the promise is not what makes it valuable, it's the act of keeping it. Drinking a glass of water when you said you would might not seem like it will change your life, but the discipline you practice in doing it will. That discipline carries over into everything else. It's not about the water. It's about honoring your commitment. When you start living this way, you'll notice that your word gains weight in your own mind. You no longer make casual commitments you don't intend to keep. You stop over-promising and start delivering on what you say. That's how you build a reputation with yourself. And that's the foundation for every major achievement you'll ever have. By treating small promises like life-changing commitments, you turn everyday actions into training for the bigger battles ahead. You stop letting yourself off the hook. You build trust, consistency, and self-respect. And when those qualities are in place, results are no longer a matter of chance. They are the natural outcome of who you've become.
Chapter 7. Learn to delay pleasure until real work is complete. One of the greatest skills you can develop for long-term success is the ability to delay pleasure until the work that truly matters is complete. Most people reverse this order. They seek enjoyment first and hope to find time for their responsibilities later. But the problem with that approach is simple. Once pleasure comes first, energy, focus, and urgency often disappear. The work gets pushed aside, rushed, or skipped entirely. When you train yourself to delay gratification, you take control of your results and build a level of discipline that very few ever achieve. Delaying pleasure is not about removing joy from your life. It is about placing it in the right order. Work first, then reward. The reward feels better when it's earned, and the work feels more meaningful when it's completed before you rest. If you reverse it, the enjoyment is often tainted with guilt, because you know you still have unfinished tasks waiting for you. That guilt lingers in the back of your mind, and it makes the relaxation less satisfying. When you finish your responsibilities before indulging in anything pleasurable, you can enjoy it fully because it's free from the weight of unfinished commitments. The temptation to take pleasure first is strong because it offers immediate relief. You've had a long day, you're tired, and you think, I'll just relax for a bit and then get to it. But more often than not, that bit stretches into hours, and by the time you're done relaxing, the motivation to work is gone. This pattern builds a dangerous habit, prioritizing comfort over completion. If you want to break free from it, you must start treating your pleasures as rewards instead of defaults. The simplest way to do this is to set clear rules for yourself. For example, no watching a show until your scheduled tasks are complete. No scrolling on your phone until you've done your workout. No gaming, hanging out, or leisure activities until your key goals for the day are done. This removes the option to negotiate with yourself in the moment. You've already decided the order: work,
then reward, and your job is to follow it. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will try to convince you that you can handle both at the same time, or that you deserve the break before you've finished. But every time you give in early, you weaken your ability to follow through. Every time you hold out and finish the work before enjoying yourself, you make it easier to do it again. That repeated pattern rewires how you approach your days. It becomes normal to earn the reward instead of granting it to yourself without merit. This skill also trains your patience. In a world where almost everything can be accessed instantly, food delivered in minutes, entertainment available in seconds, products shipped overnight, waiting for anything feels